Are live. This is Ruben Dua from the Dubb podcast Connection Loop. Today we have Ian with us, and we're going to be talking about personal branding and the essentials of it. So this is a very interesting topic for me. I've gone through a whole evolution on what is the personal brand, how does it exist in LinkedIn and YouTube and the social platforms, and just us and our general aura. So how can we become most authentic? How can we become most professional, most likable, and at the same time, still drive our business forward? So Ian, if you could just start with a short bio, love to get into the topic here.
Sure, yeah. So Ian Moyse, I'm Chief Revenue Officer at OneUp Sales, been in sales leadership for a number of years prior to that, sales for many, many years. And the reason this subject's pertinent to me is I fell into social selling a number of years ago, before it was called that, didn't know what it was, self-taught, to try and stay relevant in the selling environment and to the customer. And alongside that comes personal branding. It's an inherent part of social selling. And the more I got interested in and self-taught, there's books and things now, but it was organically learning the hard way, trying things. And through that, we may talk about this, is I've realized the benefits you can gain through simply making sure you represent yourself in the most appropriate and authentic, you absolutely nailed one of the words there, Ruben, way possible. And that's across all platforms, right? This isn't just, you're kindly showing my LinkedIn, but it's not just LinkedIn. It's whatever environment is relevant to your customer, how you are perceived in that environment is part of your personal brand.
Yeah, well said. Well, tell us, what are some of the essentials? What should we be doing if we want to really be promoting our personal brand?
Well, firstly, realize you've got one, because a lot of people, I think, so, this is for celebrities or influencers. Everyone has a personal brand. Your personal brand is others' perception of you based on any information, any context they have. So it isn't just digital, although in today's world, rapidly over the last 10 years, we've all been capable very cheaply because of the social media platforms, and there's a plethora of them, to represent our brand globally, cost effectively, with very little effort or any cost at all. So the game's changed because your personal brand is often a digital one. And I would suggest that during COVID, your personal brand, your digital personal brand, has become the first impression, and it's become more important than ever before. So things you should care about are, simple one to start with is, what can people find about you online? I would challenge people to, in an incognito browser or on someone else's PC, because on your PC, there are cookies or all these things going on that learn about you and what you look at and what you search. But search anonymously in a way that someone else would. Search your name and your company name. What might someone search for and what would they find? And take a look, and certainly look at the first 3, 4, 5 pages. No one's going to look at page 45, right? Let's be frank, we don't do that. But on those first few pages, what comes to light and how does it represent you? And are you happy with it? That's the first thing to start with. Does it represent you to your target audience, whether that be an employer? If you're being furloughed or looking for a job, your personal brand is a key aspect of your competitive edge, so to speak, in selling yourself and getting that new role. And don't kid yourself that employers and recruiters aren't going to check you out online. And that could be your differential against another candidate. So that's the first thing. Or how your customers going to view you. Where would they look for you? So that's what we start. I mean, I could go on for 20 minutes, but I'm going to give you a chance to speak, Ruben, because that's such a big question. I could rattle on for ages.
Well, for me, it's where we're being found. And oftentimes, a lot of us actually don't Google ourselves to see what's being said about us. My friend Roberto Monaco says it best. He says, if we don't tell our story ourselves, others will tell it for us. So what that means is that if we're not going to Google and looking at the first 8 listings and saying, what is on that page? What does it say about me on my LinkedIn page or my Medium profile or whatever it may be? And if you're not happy with that, that's your opportunity to fix that. And also, starting a blog and updating your own social accounts, it's going to give yourself more visibility. The second thing I think about, though, is how do we drive, once we've found our channels, found our voice, how do we drive the the real engagement? When we look at some of the posts that we put on LinkedIn, some of them, they might get zero engagement. Others might get moderate engagement. Others get high engagement. How do you try to get more engagement on your posts? If you notice that some of your posts are getting zero likes, what are some of the updates that you might do to your strategy so that you don't suffer from that problem? Because the red flag, of course, that I always look for is if someone has a large amount of followers, but they have very low amount of engagement. What that makes me think, are they using bots? Are they gaming the system somehow? What is not quote unquote authentic in that mix?
Yeah, and I think think across platforms. So firstly, be relevant on the platforms where your customers are. So what question I often get asked is, should I be on Instagram, Facebook, all these things? And my answer is, I don't know the answer without knowing where's your customer, where's the people you're trying to address. So firstly, choose the appropriate platforms and don't try and be on all of them for the sake of ticking the box. Do the platforms that are most appropriate to the nature of your business and where your engagement should be with your prospective client, customer, and do it really well. And in terms of content, there are so many nuances to consider. One is be authentic. And to your point of those that get the most engagement, I think those that are the most authentic, if you post up a blatant advert, it tends to get less interaction than if you post a discussion piece. If you post something authentic about the role you're in, your industry, something you've got not only authenticity about, but knowledge about, where you're posting an opinion piece. And that doesn't have to be a blog. It can be a few sentences. Where possible, use video, and certainly use an image. So in that scrolling, in that transient nature of social media, don't think everyone's going to see your post and sit there waiting for you to post something, right? And if they're following a lot of people, their feed will have a lot of content in it. So a couple of things is, one is produce a good piece of content. Two, don't be put off by sharing it multiple times. And that multiple times is not 3 times an hour every hour. But if you post it in day one and it's a good piece of content, don't be afraid of posting it at a different time on a different day, because it's like a TV advert. They don't run that advert once, even though it's highly expensive. They don't just run it once and think, well, we're done now. They understand that the viewer will not necessarily be there at the point in time you run the advert. So they'll run it in different times on different channels, and they'll run it amongst content that they think is appropriate to the audience. So for example, if it's a travel program, you'll typically get adverts to do with travel and travel products in that section, because the audience watching the program is most likely to look at the advert. So the trick is to produce content, think about when to post it. If your target market is the US, don't post it in the middle of the night in the US time. It's pretty basic. And then think about using videos and images. And if you're using LinkedIn as an example and you're posting video, post it organically. There's a small tip, because if you post a link to, for example, a YouTube video, the algorithms on LinkedIn de-rank it automatically, because what you're basically saying to the LinkedIn platform is, here's a bit of content. I want to take your audience on LinkedIn to another social media platform, and they don't like it, and automatically it de-ranks. So post your content organically, and most are like that. Typically in the platform, it's on Twitter, post the video embedded. Don't post it as a link to somewhere else. Try and keep everything on the platform that you're posting on, and think about the audience. What's going to engage them? What's going to interest them? What's going to give them value? And that isn't all about you. So I usually suggest a 4-1-1 ratio. A 4-1 ratio. You can do 4 pieces of content that are non-promotional, and that might be something personal, something opinion-based, something where you've written a piece of content yourself, to having 1 promotional one. One thing about your company for every 4 others. You can do that, and it balances the content. If someone sees all you're pumping out is company literature, you're just resharing company promotional stuff. Why am I following you? What value am I getting from this? So you got to think about what's the impact on the audience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think when we think about who the target audience is and the type of content that they would want to consume, it changes the mindset a little bit, because we're all trained to kind of be, especially people in sales and marketing, we're kind of trained to just talk about what we're selling and talk about products and services that we have, when in actuality, that's not what people want to read about. When we meet people at a party, who talks about products and services there for the first 3 hours of the conversation?
Yeah.
Nobody. That happens days or weeks later.
Ruben, we want to get insight, right? We want to learn. Give me something that gives me some advantage, gives me something new I can do something with. If you think that way and deliver that, people want to lap up the content.
Yeah, so well said. So what are some of the ideas that you might have to share with us in terms of figuring out what type of content we can share with people? If the classic saying in business is that people have problems, and if you can solve those at scale, then you can be successful and make other people successful. So how do we find out what the problems of our ideal client profile are, and then create content to assist them with those problems?
Well, so there's lots of different things you can do, right? One is, it's very easy on the social media platforms to run a poll. Run something where you survey people, because the platforms are there, they have the technology built into them, or there's plenty of SurveyMonkey and these sort of things. Very easy to run something. And if you want to get really good insight, run a contest with a small prize. Make it, depending on your, if you've got a marketing budget, but run something where, answer these few questions, get a $5, $5 coffee token card, right? Or enter into a contest and for a PlayStation or something like that. You can incent people to fill these things in to get data to give you that context to then write something around. Or look at what's out there. There's plenty of surveys already been run. There's plenty of analyst reports already been run where you can get this data and it's out there, and then look at creating content around it.
Yeah, I think customer surveys they're definitely an unsung hero. I wish more people use those types of things to figure out what problems are, because that's where a lot of the discovery and a lot of the creative ideas come from, in terms of how we can create content and share it and drive more engagement. Great. Well, any other essentials that we should be focused on when thinking about our personal branding? Just want to pack in values.
I think consistency. How many times when you may look at someone as an individual, you want to see what else is out there that they've produced, and you can't find their profile. The number of times I've looked and gone, right, here's someone on LinkedIn, let's see what they're doing on Twitter, and there's no easy way to find them, or you'll go on Twitter and search their name, and yourself and myself, Ruben, have relatively good names that there's not millions with our name. But if your name's John Smith and you search that on Twitter, you're gonna, how do I find the right person? And the onus is then on me, the audience, and they've used a different look and feel, different photo. Is this the right person? Is this not? Make it easy. Cross-link your profiles if you're having them and you care about them. Then put links on each one to the other one so that someone can find you. Use consistent photos and branding, even as an individual. Think about what companies do, and there's a reason they do that, to make it easy for the customer and the audience to identify this is from the same place, this is the same content. And the same when you produce content, think about using a consistent label, brand, photo, etc. I mean, that's an easy one, right? Then think about, how do I make it easier for the audience? So for example, you kindly pulled up my LinkedIn profile, but the address that I gave you for my profile wasn't, Ruben, go to LinkedIn, search Ian Moyse, and then there might be 3 or 4, and then pick it. If you go, that URL for that page is ianmoyse.co.uk. For my Twitter account, it's ianmoyse.cloud. So anyone I'm talking to, I've created a nice, friendly, personalized brand, and it cost me a few dollars a year for each of those domains. And it's easy, right? I don't say, imagine my name is John Smith. I'd say, well, yeah, go and find me on LinkedIn, look for John Smith, but I'm not that one. Make sure you look for this and search for this. I just say, I'd say, get John Smith or get John underscores, get whatever, get something that makes it easy. And then as you kindly scroll through mine, you'll see where I take part in other content. And through doing this in this personal branding, I've had the pleasure to be invited as a speaker to podcasts such as yours, but to also, you can see here, lots of panels, lots of different things that I get involved with. And that extends your personal brand. The more you partake, if you want to become a thought leader in your particular segment and space, make use of the platform. So you'll see as you scroll through there, I've connected to all the relevant jobs that I've had. I've posted against each one. I look for completeness. So there's postings there of things I did there where I spoke at an event. There are, I do everything I can to make my profile authentic, interesting, and give you a lot of information. And I've had a lot of influencer work come out of this. And I didn't go out trying to be an influencer, but in the cloud technology space, and now more and more in the sales leadership space, I get invited to be on panels, to take part in things, and they just find me. They'll find me through, we saw you did this panel. Well, guess what? If they see you do something, where are they probably going to go next? They're going to look at the links, go to one of your social profiles, check you out, and reach out. So I get DMs on Twitter, I get LinkedIn messages multiple times a week. Could you speak at this? Do you write content on this? Would you give us a comment for this article? And that all helps your company. Because if nothing else, if they say, Ian, could you give us a comment about cloud in XYZ, said by Ian Moyse at One Up Sales, your name's out there and it's free and people are reaching to you. And make use of the platform. If you hover over my picture there, Ruben, I don't know if you've done this on your LinkedIn, you'll find that the video should play if LinkedIn plays nicely.
Hi, this is Ian.
Yeah, you didn't want the sound there. So LinkedIn has put this in place recently where you can put an introductory video against your profile picture for 30 seconds and it's free. So why not do it? So I'm always looking at where are the angles on these platforms that you can do things that make the most use of the platform to represent you as well as possible and take the most benefit from everything on there.
So well said. Well, Ian, I wanted to thank you for your time. Some great tips and tricks here. I think we could all do a better job on our personal branding, and hopefully this was the piece of content that we needed to hear to catalyze that. So thank you so much again, and stick around for some notes. Appreciate you.